I have been involved in the delivery of electronic signature services for more than 12 years. And I have made one major learning I would like to share with you today. And that is, there is only one valid reason to use electronic signature. And this reason is legal. Because electronic signature, it is all about collecting and preserving evidence to ensure sufficient legal protection. That's it. If you do not serve this purpose, your e-signing costs are just a waste. So there's no any other good enough reason to use electronic signature but legal. There are two important moments in the life cycle of every electronic signature: the moment of signing and the moment of validating the electronic signature. It is that the guy on the left here wants to provide and preserve the evidence of his real-life identity and of the content of the document being signed, so that the lady on the right here can validate this information or this evidence independently later on. And the fact is that those two moments can be very distant from each other in space and in time. Luckily, in Euro, we have a regulation which defines requirements towards electronic signature to be trusted. The short name of the regulation is eIDAS. And I would specifically emphasize Article 26, which, in my opinion, defines the essential requirements towards electronic signature to be trusted. Requirement number 1 tells that electronic signature should be uniquely pointing to one and only one unique person. It means there shouldn't be any two or more persons which this electronic signature is pointing to. Requirement number 2 tells that electronic signature should be capable of identifying the person. By looking at the electronic signature, we should be able to name the person who has signed the document. And here is where third-party trusted authorities come into play. They initially verify the real-life identity of the person, and later on they assure this information to the rest of the world. Third requirement assures that the signatory has sole control over the signing secret used and needed to add the electronic signature to the document. At no point in time this secret should come into possession of anybody else, otherwise we just believe the electronic signature is compromised. And this is where usually the notion of private and public key pair is being used. They both are strongly connected together mathematically, so that the private key is used by the signatory to add his signature to the document, and this one is kept in secret. And the public key is something public and can be used by whoever in the world to verify, to validate the signature of this particular signatory. And finally, the requirement number 4 tells that each instance of electronic signature should be strongly connected to the content of the document being signed, so that later changes to the document could be detectable. It means that it doesn't work in the way that you have a stock of ready-made electronic signatures, you just take next one from the shelf and stick it to the document. No way. Instead, each instance of electronic signature is a blend or a mix of your signing secret and the document. And then you apply the algorithm on top to encrypt the document using your signing secret. In fact, each electronic signature should be unique, and the result of the encryption is what we call the electronic signature. Once the signature is ready, we usually package it with additional information like the original unencrypted content of the document and information about the claimed identity of the signatory. Normally you can see it in the form of PDF file, which is capable of keeping and handling all this additional information and information about signatures, or it can be more localized format of the digitally signed file. Anyway, this package is something which is ready to be shipped over to the receiver for validation of your signature. Whenever the receiver of the document wants to validate the signature, she unpackaged the file and requests the public key of the claimed signatory from the trusted authority. She needs it to validate the signature. The public key received from the trusted authority can be used to do the reverse operation to signing or to decrypt the signature. Since we expect those keys to match each other mathematically and strongly, the decrypted document should be the one which has been originally signed by the signatory. To make sure it was, she can now compare the decrypted document to the one originally attached to the package. If there's a perfect bit-by-bit match between those two, she can make a conclusion that there was also the match between the private key used for signing and the public key used for validating the signature. So the identity of the signatory is authentic. And also the content of the document is authentic too. Of course, she doesn't do this math manually, and software does it for her automatically. Like, for example, for PDF files, you would normally use Adobe Reader software, which has this functionality embedded, and it will display the results of validation to you, like the name of the signatory and the green checkbox next to it, and the statement about the integrity of the document. As a rule of thumb, to validate the signature in Adobe Reader software, you can use two checks. Number one, if everything is green around and there are no red or yellow marks in the signature validation data. And number two, if the name of the signatory is the real name of the human being, not the company and not the name of the service provider. If those two are okay, most probably the signature is good. On the other hand, the mismatch between the decrypted document and the one originally attached to the package would mean that the key pair was not matching or the document has been altered after signing. In either case, you shouldn't trust this signature. In this case, the software will alert you with the red marked information or with the relevant messages. This is how electronic signature with a practically good level of trust should work. But now let's see where many electronic signatures fall below this level. In practical world, service providers often exploit the lack of understanding of e-signing fundamentals by their customers. And instead of using intended signatories' signing secrets, they use their own signing secret to sign the document in the name of their customer. This signing secret, however, is fully controlled by them, not by the signatory. You can easily tell this by looking at the signature. You will see the name of the service provider in the properties of the signature and not the real name of the individual or expected signatory. And the relevant question from the lady verifying the signature is, where is my signatory's name? How can I check that one? Service providers expected this question, and what they did was a little trick. They have slightly rearranged the signing process. They present the signable document to the intended signatory, and they ask him to authenticate to sign the document with one of the methods widely adopted and accepted in that region, like Bank ID in Nordic countries. So it has a good level of credibility in that region. And once they get data about the signatory from the identity provider, they add it to the new page they create on the fly, which I call here the identity phantom page. It will contain the data they acquired, but it will not contain any verifiable evidence of the identity. And after that, they append this page to the original document. Usually, this page is nicely shaped with good-looking borders, headers, footers, disclaimers, and often they add also the logo of Bank ID there to boost credibility of the page, like to borrow it from Bank ID. And this is the new document which they get. They sign it on top with their own signing secret. That's the signed document, as they call it. Here are a few examples of identity phantom pages. These are nicely shaped, they can look different, but let's stay practical and let's check how this type of signature matches the requirements of the regulation. Is this signature uniquely linked to one person, to the signatory? No, not at all, because service providers, they use the same signing secret to sign in the name of all of their customers, or at least many of their customers. So they share the same secret to sign documents for different customers. It is not uniquely linked. Does this signature identify the signatory in the crowd? Does it precisely point to one individual who has signed the document? Well, Identity Phantom page pretends to be doing this, but I would say it is a hook, because there is no verifiable evidence of the signatory's identity in the Identity Phantom page and in the document overall. Is the signing secret in the sole control of the signatory? Not at all, because the signing secret belongs to the signing service provider, it is fully controlled by it, and it can be used to sign whatever they want in the name of their customers. Failed. And finally, is the signature strongly linked to the document being signed so that any further change could be detectable? Absolutely not, because after presenting the document to you for signing, they deliberately change it by adding the Identity Phantom page, by changing the way it looks, so that the resulting documents is different than the one presented to you for signing. Failed again. I have once challenged one of those service providers about a specific document. I asked the question, which particular data in the document, according to eIDAS, represents the signature of Adam? After iterating about 8 times with their service desk, I felt like they have been escalating my question higher and higher. They ended up answering that the graphical representation of Adam's signature in the Identity Phantom page was actually the signature of Adam. Well, I cut out this part of the document as a picture and supplied it as a graphical representation of a signature to another document in a publicly available signing solution. What I've got was a new document with what they call the signature of Adam. The signature was clickable, it validated perfectly, it looked good. And the only problem with that document was that Adam has never seen this document before. Would you trust this signature or not? This is the document, signed by Adam originally, where he used authenticate to sign method offered by the service provider. I personally believe we can often observe a placebo effect here, because customers feel good about their signatures. They believe they're getting sufficient legal protection with this type of electronic signing. However, they're not good, because the actual level of legal evidence they get is way below the expected one. And service providers are not often open with their customers about this. This might be a hyper-profitable business for them, as well as hyper-useless thing for you, because equipping one individual with a signing secret is hundreds times less expensive than equipping everybody with their own signing secrets. And it is just the wrong individual who is being equipped.